Today is June the 6th, the year of the rat, and we have the great opportunity to continue to study the Avatamsaka Sutra. We are in the midst of studying chapter 25, 10 dedications, and we will continue today. Great enlightening beings, by the power of this indestructible dedication, embody all foundations of goodness and dedication them in this way. Diamond banners, spiritually empowered by the Buddha, look over the 10 directions and said in verse, enlightening beings having attained indestructible will, carry out all good works, therefore they are able to make the Buddhas rejoice. Those who are wise dedicate this, making offerings to infinite Buddhas, giving charity with self-control, they subdue their senses, out of desire to benefit all sentient beings, to cause them all to be purified. All sorts of beautiful, fragrant flowers, innumerable different splendid robes, jewel canopies, and adornments they present to all the Buddhas. Thus do they make offerings to Buddhas for countless unthinkable eons, reverent, respectful, always rejoicing. They never have a thought of weariness. They concentrate their thoughts on the Buddhas, the great bright lamps of all worlds. All the enlightened ones in the 10 directions appear before them as though face to face. For inconceivably infinite eons, they give in all ways. Their minds never weary. For hundreds of millions of eons, they practice good principles in the same way. So here, these are the verses to conclude the second sections of 10 dedications. So the diamond banner in his first sentence, it says here, the indestructible mind, the indestructible thought. But regarding thoughts, are they destructible or indestructible? Once they are enlightened, then they will see that all dharmas, all phenomena are unborn, unceasing. So if you want to talk about indestructible, it's the same thing as unceasing, unborn, and unceasing. And once you have generated the mind to perfect the sentient beings, they would not stop until they attain enlightenment. So after enlightenment, they all make the aspiration to enlighten the sentient beings life after life without stoppage. And so that is indestructible thinking, indestructible aspiration. And all the merits, all the aspirations, all the mind generation, all follow that perfect aspiration. So once a person is already enlightened, the first thing that we have talked about in the past, in the realm of non-defilement, when one is in deep meditative absorption, they would see actually two sides. They can see both two sides very clearly, how suffering it is in the worldly realms and how blissful it is and how pure it is in the nirvana. But the sentient beings, because they don't see the purity in the nirvana, so that's why they are still suffering. But for those who are enlightened, they clearly see the realm of nirvana. And for the sentient beings, maybe they understand what nirvana is, but they cannot abide in nirvana. But the enlightened beings, they can see very clearly the spheres of nirvana and the spheres of suffering. So if they want to go onto the path of suffering in order to benefit sentient beings, they would take on that path. They would go on that path, and if they want to go on the path of nirvana, they would go on that path, with ease. So the sphere of suffering, the life and death cycle, it's still there. So we have learned in the past that if we want to enter nirvana, then we have to make life and death extinct. But actually, in my view, if you study the Dharma with that kind of mind frame, then maybe it deviated from the truth that the truth of Dharma that the Buddha wanted to teach us. So if you want to once you have attained enlightenment, then there are two paths that you want to take or to go on. So one is the positive path, and the negative paths. Those are the two paths for sentient beings. Those with great opening eyes, they would not follow the path of the evil because they can see so very clearly. They could see if they do this, then the results will be like that. For us, we use our perception, but for the enlightened beings, they can see clearly. If we have an elaborated thought, and immediately they can see, oh, this elaboration of my thought would lead me to what kind of fruition, would lead me to what kind of retribution, and when. So when they have the enlightened wisdom, they can actually see all the sufferings, all the pervasive suffering of all the sentient beings, and they also see the pervasive nirvana throughout the cosmos. So they can see clearly both sides of life and cycle and nirvana. But for the sentient beings who do not see clearly, who are not yet enlightened, then they cannot tell that actually nirvana is pervasive within this cosmos, within this life and death cycle, within this mundane world. So the enlightened beings would like to come to us and to remind us to understand that actually nirvana, it's pervasive. Nirvana is right here, and then and nirvana is when you no longer are deluded, when you are you no longer have delusions. So once they are enlightened, and they can penetrate the positive as well as the evilness in the spheres, then they also penetrated the sphere of nirvana, which is unborn and unceasing. So that is the ultimate wisdom. Without this kind of understanding, without this kind of penetration, if you have any kind of transmundane power, still it is not ultimate wisdom. But once you fathom the depth of life and cycle, then the enlightened beings would be able to see everything so very clearly without anything being hidden. And also the sphere of nirvana is also very clear to them. So when they have both ways, then they would have the skillful means, the expedient means to be able to assist the sentient beings or to deliver the sentient beings. So once you reach this point, then all Buddhas will rejoice, and the wise would be very happy and would be able to use the expedient means to benefit the sentient beings. And it is the same as making offerings to countless Buddhas. So there are two meanings here. So we can actually make offerings to the Buddhas who have already attained enlightenment, and also making offerings to the Buddhas who will be attaining enlightenment. Because the enlightened beings understand that to provide service to the sentient beings is equivalent to making offerings to the Buddhas. So on their ways of perfecting the sentient beings, they have assisted countless sentient beings, and it is the same as making offerings to countless Buddhas. So when the Bodhisattvas turn their minds toward us, they already see both of our faces, they see both of our sides. So the Bodhisattvas and the Buddhas see clearly the two sides of the sentient beings. So one side is delusion, then that is the suffering realm, and then on the other side is non-delusion, being non-diluted, and that's the sphere of nirvana. So they already see that we have the nature of the Buddha, we have the characteristics and the appearance of Buddhas, and we still just a little bit away from it. Because if they continue to see us simply as sentient beings only, then how can they deliver us? How can they enlighten us? So they see both of our faces. And they are also being at ease. They have freedom in both worlds, whether it's nirvana or it's the cyclic existence. But because they could see clearly the reality of both sides, so they are no longer attached to both sides. So now we're not talking about extinction of defilements, but here we're talking about penetration of both sides. We're not talking about fully extinction anymore. And then we don't talk about, oh, no longer not having even a single thought. And that is called extinction, and that is called nirvana. No, we need to, think differently about this. So in every which way that they do, what do they have in mind? It's to offer to the Buddhas, it's to elucidate and to deliver the sentient beings. They believe that the sentient beings are Buddhas to be, have already been Buddhas primordially. So now it's their job to remind the sentient beings. So because they have already attained enlightenment, so that's why they continue to travel throughout the 6 worlds, so that we sentient beings can meet with them, so that they can have common acts with us, so that they can enlighten us. So after they're traveling around the 3 worlds to have a taste of all the different lifestyles in each and every world, then when they come back, then actually they have a full understanding, and they have multitudes of expedient means, so that they can help us in whichever world that we are born into. So, for example, right now, if we have attained enlightenment and become Buddhas right in this moment, then there's nothing else that we need to study further, because that means that we have already been through all the 3 worlds. If we become enlightened right in this very moment, then we have as many expedient means as the bodhisattvas. But it's just because we don't want to be enlightened yet, we still want to play around. But once we let go of all I guess the worldly attachment, then we would be at ease. We will have freedom. And when we are studying the Mahayana scriptures, then it helps us to understand something that we misunderstood in the past. We used to understand that we have to eradicate all of the seedlings of life and death. And when we sit in meditation, we have to stop this thinking. We have to stop that thinking. We have to put a barrier, and we have to put a and if we do something like that, then we won't be able to gain anything to our history. But once we are able to understand that, then actually, just like the Buddha has taught in the Majjhima Nikaya, we continue to abide in the vivid presence. And when we listen to the chapter on fear, and we understand that the way to attain enlightenment is very close to us, and we will be able to attain Buddhahood right in this very life. But once we're talking about bringing all defilements to extinction, then that is very difficult. So the Buddha already taught us about the vivid presence and already show us how to abide in the vivid moment. But still, we did not want that. We want to go on another path. We want to discover another path. But what the Buddha taught us will be able to deliver us to enlightenment. And those who have already attained enlightenment, they can clearly see both sides of cyclic existence and nirvana. So the Bodhisattvas come here to teach us, to provide service to us, to serve us with the only intention to make offerings to the Buddhas, to make offerings to the future Buddhas. And regarding the past Buddhas, they have already made offerings to past Buddhas. They have already been close to past Buddhas to make offerings to inconceivable Buddhas in the past. So they made offerings. They kept their vows. They wanted to help the sentient beings to be purified. That is their great aspiration. And when we ourselves are purified, then what? What's going to happen? First, we connect it to our own luminosity, our own pure luminosity, and then we'll be able to connect to the pure luminosity of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. When we are defiled, and we are still murky when we sit in meditation, that means that we're not pure yet. We don't have purity yet. When we can see everything very clearly, then that means that we are having purity. So whoever can see things very clearly, that means that you are in a sphere of purity. But if you cannot see things thoroughly and clearly, then you don't have purity yet. Your mind's not pure yet. So after you transcend the third and the fourth levels of meditative absorption, then you are pure, and then you'll be able to see past lives of yourself, past life of all sentient beings. And then when you look at defilements, then you can see actually the two sides of both nirvana and the cyclic existence. But if you cannot see that, that means that your mind's not pure yet, and you don't understand what it is yet. And if you can attain that state of the mind, then whatever beautiful, like fragrant flowers, splendid robes, canopies, adornments, then you would bring all of that with you to make offerings to the Buddhas. So actually, the flowers and the canopies in the mundane sense, and those are just physical items. But if your fragrant flowers are your mental flowers, and with our attachment, and the incenses are mental incenses with our attachment, then that is truly an adornment, that is truly making offerings to the Buddhas. But the physical flowers, they're just physical flowers, and they're not adornments, they're not beautiful, because one day they're beautiful, but the next day they deteriorated. So the Buddhas cannot use anything like that. But here it says that the Bodhisattvas make offerings to the Buddhas without having even a thought of weariness. So if we if we if we treat the sentient beings, here we're not talking about the Buddhas yet. Actually, we have to see all the sentient beings as Buddhas to be, and then we make the aspiration to make offerings to all the future Buddhas without even a thought of weariness. So for the past Buddhas, we also made offerings without weariness, and the present Buddhas are the enlightened Buddhas. We also make offerings without weariness. And then for the future Buddhas too, toward them, we also make aspirations to make offerings to them. So that means that past, present, and futures, we always turn our minds toward the Buddhas, and then we make offerings without weariness. So that is when we say that we can perfect our aspiration. But if we see that this is a deluded person and this is an enlightened person, so if we see two kinds of people like that, and we feel like, oh, the person who's deluded has no ability to become enlightened, then then we don't have the they don't give us the mental force to help them. So let's think about all the people who do charity work, who make the aspiration to help young children. So if some of the young children whom we help, and we feel that they would grow up and they would have a future, then we have a motivation to help them, right? But then for those children who may not be able to become successful when they grow up, they don't have enough of the senses, they are handicapped, and then sometimes we don't have the motivation, right? We always have the motivation when we feel like there's a fruition, a successful fruition waiting for us. For example, if we want to build a temple, and we understand that in this temple there are people who have enlightened, and we believe that those enlightened beings will be able to elucidate other beings, then our motivation will be stronger. But if we build a temple that there are no one who is enlightened, then do you have any motivation? No, we don't. But the bodhisattvas can see everything very clearly. They can see the two appearances. One is enlightening and one is suffering. So they continue to make aspiration without awareness because they want to serve the sentient beings. They want to make offerings to the Buddhas. So making offerings, providing services to the sentient beings doesn't mean that we're only making offerings to past Buddhas, but actually providing services to the sentient beings are just like making offerings to the future Buddhas. So there's no wariness whatsoever in what we do in the world. And then we say that they concentrate their thought on the Buddhas, the great bright lamps of the worlds, all the enlightened ones of the 10 directions appear before them as through face to face. Because if we understand the essence of past, present, and future Buddhas, then everywhere we can see Buddhas, everywhere we go, we see Buddhas as if we are seeing them face to face. It's not something that is vague, but it's actually something that is just like face to face. Because for an enlightened beings, everything is brilliant, it's radiant with golden light and with purity. They merge with a state of complete purity, and if that is the case, then they have never separated from the Buddhas. So even when they are giving a speech or when they are doing anything, after they have already attained enlightenment, then wherever they are, whatever they do, the Buddhas appear in front of them, not being hidden, but completely clear, completely transparent, completely luminous without impediment. So we used to see with our physical eyes, but for the enlightened beings, they do not see with their physical eyes. They see with the wisdom eyes, the Buddha eyes, even when they close their eyes. So the ultimate is Buddha, is the Buddha eyes. And for the Buddha eyes, anywhere is Buddha, any place is the Buddha land, and every sentient being is a Buddha. So when they approach us, they try to help us to purify the defilements of the sentient beings so that we can swiftly enter the realm of the Buddhas. Because the realms of the Buddhas appear and are pervasive. And then the spheres of the sentient beings, the deluded sentient beings are also pervasive. But the realm of the sentient beings do not affect or influence the realms of the Buddhas that the Bodhisattvas currently abide. Because the spheres of the Buddhas are at ease, are luminous, and are serene, are quiescent. But for us, because we are still stuck in the realm of the sentient being, that's why we're not able to merge with the spheres of the Buddhas. But if the Bodhisattvas are able to help us to let go of our defilements, to purify ourselves, then we can merge with the realm of the Buddhas very easily. And then here they're talking about the great bright lamps, and for inconceivably infinite eons, they give all the ways, their minds never weary. For hundreds of millions of eons, they practice good principles in the same way. We're not talking about practicing good principles so that you can be born in the higher realms, so that you can enjoy your merits. But it means that you are trying to help all the sentient beings so that they can see the Buddhas the same way as that you see, so that the sentient beings can attain their Buddhahoods and remain in the state of Buddhahood, so that they can help other sentient beings. So that is the only intention. And then it says here, after the Buddhas become extinct, they make offerings to their relics tirelessly. With various fine adornments for each, they set up inconceivably many shrines, built in incomparably excellent forms, adorned with jewels and gold. The shrines are magnificent, big as mountains, their number countless billions. Having made offerings with pure minds of respect, they also conceive the will to gladden and benefit others. For inconceivable eons they stay in the world, rescuing sentient beings and liberating them. So after we talk about making offerings to the Buddhas, and then they always talk about making offerings to the relics or paying respect to the relics. So if let's say if our Buddha had already entered nirvana and he had already attained Buddhahood, then after he passes into nirvana, then we build a stupa to house their relics. But actually, once they have attained Buddhahood, then actually their physical bodies will become relics. The whole of his physical bodies will become relic. So after our Buddha passes into parinirvana, then his relics were divided up, including the relics that were distributed to the Nagas, the Naga kings. But actually, wherever the relics are, they are actually being guarded by the gods. So our Buddha's relics are actually everywhere in the world, in the three worlds. So whoever has the genuine respect and reverence toward the relics and toward the Buddha, and if your veneration is actually very strong and very sincere, and the gods can actually see your sincerity, then they will help bring the relics to us. So actually the relics are everywhere. Well, sometimes the relics become like a movement, so then we cannot tell whether it's true or untrue, whether the relics are authentic or not authentic. But actually for those with the a truthful mind, then they will be to receive the relics, the true relics of the Buddhas. And I know that there are many places when they have true relics, and if they have if they have the relics on their shrines and venerate their shrines after sometimes, then the relics will multiply. So if you have faith in this, then something will actually happen, and you will be able to witness that. I remember in 2009, I went to Myanmar, and at that time I venerated the relics of the Sariputra, not of the Buddha yet. Actually, there are 10 stupas of the relics of Sariputra, and they were so beautiful. And then I would like to make requests so that I can get like maybe 5 stupas, and then oh, actually not 5 stupas, but I would like to request for 5 relics. Oh, actually, they are large relics, not small relics. Actually, the evening prior to that, the relics were being brought into the stupa. Actually, I brought the stupas back home to Vietnam. So the first thing I did was I opened the stupa. Oh, I understand now. Actually, I asked my monk, what did you do so that the top of it just like exploded? And he said, oh, I didn't do anything. I carried around my neck, and actually the sixth relic actually exploded, and it was as big as the other 5 relic pills that were kept in the stupa. So actually whether you believe or not, it doesn't matter, but it is something that I myself witnesses. So actually, until now, the 6 relics did not multiply anymore, but actually there are 6 relic pills now, and the 6th pill was as magnificent, as beautiful as the other 5 relics, and there are no difference. So it's just like without 24 hours, it multiplied, and it is not. It's not anything that I can actually can conceive. And so I really pay respect to the relics. I really love and I really treasure and I really respect the relics of the Buddhas and of the Arahats, of the holy students of the Buddha, because my veneration was so deep and so sincere, so that it was given to me, miraculously. So I call and talk to those who came with me to the stupa, to the museum, and then I explained to them how it happened when I opened the top of the small stupa, and then the relic multiplied it, and the 6 relic appear. So you may not believe it, but actually it's something that I witnesses. So if we have the great merits to be able to, worship the relics of the Buddha and of the Arhats, then actually you must have great faith, and the benefits are actually really wonderful. So if you have the relics of the Arhats, not just the Buddha, but of the Arhats themselves, actually it can be considered that that place is a holy place, it's a sacred place. It's not ordinary land anymore. It's a sacred place. So wherever place or whichever temple was able to collect a relic pill from the Buddhas or the Arhats, then sooner or later someone will attain arhatship in that temple or in that place. So when we talk about relics, so actually the relics are being spread everywhere in the God's realm, in the human realms, in the Naga's realm. So wherever is still worshipping the relics, then that means that the lineage of teaching of Buddha Shakyamuni will continue to remain in the world. So when it is time that the teachings of the Buddha Shakyamuni will come to an end or will come to extinction, then in my imagination, I think that all the relics will be gathered into one place, and then they will all, appear or manifest as the whole body of Buddha Shakyamuni, and then the future lineage of teachings of the future Buddha will appear. But as long as the relics are being kept in all the worlds, in the 3 realms, in the 3 worlds, then the lineage of the Buddha will not be extinct yet. And then all the students, all of his students, there will be people who will attain arhatship or Buddhahood. There will be students in the God's realm, in the human world, in the Naga's realm. But when we talk about the extinction of the teaching lineage of Buddha Shakyamuni, when we talk about the body relics will be disappear, then at that time there will be the extinction of the lineage of Buddha Shakyamuni, and then there will be a future Buddha at that time. So actually, whoever at this time, announce about themselves, saying that, oh, I am now the future Buddha. Whoever said that, actually, you should actually cut off your tongue. You really cannot say that. If you practice according to the Buddha Dharma, yet you make the announcement, you announce that you are a Buddha from a different world who comes here to enlighten sentient beings, then that is truly a lie. And here we're talking about the teachings of Buddha Maitreya coming here. No, it's not yet the time, because the teaching of Buddha Shakyamuni, it's still expanding. It's still being followed by many beings. So only when the lineage of Buddha Shakyamuni, when his teachings will not be reminded or will be follow for a long time, and you cannot find any scripture, even a single word of the Buddha Dharma in the whole world, then if that happens for a long time, then that you can consider that it is the extinction of the lineage, or it's a degenerated time. So right now, we cannot say that it is a degenerate time yet. Is it actually? It's just our conditions are being degenerated, but the true Dharma, it's still here. Before there was only one country with Buddha Dharma, but now Buddha Dharma is spreading all over the world, even in countries that used to be against the Buddha Dharma, but now in those countries they also study the Buddha Dharma, and there's still people who are attaining arhatship on the holy lands, in the sacred places, in different countries. They have they have they are everywhere in the world. So actually there are many of them, there are multitudes of arhats who have attained arhatship, who have attained enlightenment. In the future, maybe we will have the great merits to meet some of them. So actually it is not a degenerated time. Actually in the future, in the near future, there will be many beings who will be attaining enlightenment. Actually in this world right here, there are many things that are happening that cause people to die, and there are many natural disasters. So actually this is the it is a the law of the law of principles. So when it is negative, ultimate negative, then it will turn into ultimate positive. So during this time, during this time, because everything is so right now, the negativity is so great, and then there will be so many people who are actually who are practicing, who are practicing so wonderfully, so actually we will meet in the future, in the near future, many young people, very young people, and when they are 5 or 7 years old already, because they have come back here, they have reincarnate, they swiftly come back here because they're so eagerly wanting to come back to help the sentient beings. So actually they come back into this life, and they are reincarnate beings. They are very young, and immediately they can give us a speech, they can give a Dharma talk, because they want to help other sentient beings to swiftly attain enlightenment. So actually, as far as the liberative teachings, within 5 or 7 years, you can actually see how everywhere there will be people who are so wondrous in their understanding, and so wondrous in their enlightenment, in their transmundane power. So before we used to just give Dharma talks, but now in the future, in the near future, they will be using their transmundane power in order to liberate all sentient beings. Because for some people in the past who used to give teachings, who sit on the lion throne and give teaching, there are evil people who use power or black magic to cause harm to those teachers. But you know, in the near future, it won't be like that anymore. You don't talk about social activities, you don't talk about social theories, and you think that that is giving a Dharma teaching. No, actually, no. Actually, in the near future, you would have to use great wisdom. You would have to use great wisdom power, and then transcendent powers, so that you can actually convince people that this is the way of the Buddha Dharma. This is the liberating way, liberating path, and you know, gaining realization would actually be a great movement in the world. And so anybody who has a connection with the Buddha Dharma, who have practices for countless lifetimes, they will you know, return to their spheres of Buddhahood, and then those sentient beings who are, you know, great evils will continue to remain in this world so that they can pay their retribution, and then the great bodhisattvas will continue to come back into the world to elucidate and to enlighten those beings, to perfect those beings. So actually, as far as the teachings of Buddha Dharma, there would be a period, the golden period, the ultimate golden period of the Buddha Shakyamuni. The reason why is because the relics are still here. The golden bodily relics of the Buddha are still here in all the realms, and they are being distributed everywhere in the three worlds. And the relics of the Arhats are also being distributed everywhere. So according to my view, actually, the teachings of the Buddhas are still in the golden period. Well, but if you don't practice according to the Buddhas, and you cannot taste the sphere of realization according to the Buddha, so that is, you know, each person's personal experience, but it has nothing to do with the so-called degeneration, you know, within over 2,000 years, that is actually still a very short time. And the Buddha had already made prophecy regarding Shariputra, that he will attain Buddha, he will attain Buddhahood, and he will remain in the world for countless eons. So if Sariputra is a student of the Buddha, and he can remain for countless eons, then what about our Buddha Shakyamuni? He cannot just disappear so swiftly like that, and we cannot call this the degenerated time. It is because the sentient beings still have to go through the experience of paying back their karma, paying back their karmic debts, and then once, you know, they are you know, so moved by their experiences, then the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas will come back to perfect the sentient beings, because there's still so many saints or arhats living in this world, and if they want to transform the whole world, they want to stop all the sufferings in the world, then they are able to do that. But they cannot do that. The reason is because they want the sentient beings to be able to you know, be educated, to go through the experiences so that they can have faith in the Buddha Dharma, and then they will be fearful of the karmas. But if we just try to transform the world without allowing the sentient beings to go through their experiences of suffering, then they will not be able to transform, and then they will be able to bring transformation to the you know, the mind streams of the Buddhas. Actually, for one person who has attained arhatship, then the arhats will be able to protect the whole countries wherever he's saying. And in our world too, in our countries, there are many arhats already. But the thing is that if we don't leave the sentient beings alone to go through the the experiences of suffering, then they would never try to study the Buddha Dharma, because the Bodhisattvas, the Arhats, truly love us very much. So they want us to grow up to be mature, just like parents who love their children very much. And the parents need to let the children go out into the world, to experience the sun and the rain and the obstacles and the challenges in order for them to mature. So we ourselves, we also have to go through all these experiences, so then we can understand how difficult life is, how difficult life is, and and then we can empathize with other sentient beings, and then the sentient beings will be able to enlighten us. But there are many other people who are very pessimistic about our societies, about our world. But as for myself, I'm not pessimistic, because actually I think that some societies will progress very beautifully. And actually I've seen so many holy beings who have entered our world, and actually I'm so happy. I have great joy to see so many reincarnate beings coming back into this world, because there's just so many challenges in this world. And then sometimes the bodhisattvas, they can actually be very wary, because even though when they come into this world, maybe the sentient beings continue to follow them, to try to harm them, and then it would be very tiring for the bodhisattvas, right? But anyway, so in the future, we will be able to witness enlightening beings who have great wisdom and who also have great transmundane powers. So actually, this is not a dream, but this is something that I want to share with you. So I think in 2007, over a dozen years ago, I was talking to a lay person, and this person is really wonderful in secret mantrayana. So there was someone, or actually there were 20 motorcycles outside of the temple, and then he started to use his hands and show his mudras, and then all of a sudden all the motorcycles would be turned on. And then when it was raining, then all of a sudden he used his mudras, his hand mudras, and all the rain suddenly stopped. So then at that time he told me, you have to have transmundane power. And then I told him, no, I'm against that, because you have to have wisdom power, not just transmundane power. So we kind of debate on this, and I was totally against his idea. And then when we were talking and were having a debate, and all of a sudden I saw something. Maybe it was my perception, because I saw that there were so many great teaching holders or lineage holders inside the house, and there was a chair, and so everybody wanted to sit on that chair. But nobody was able to sit in that chair, the chair of the Buddha Dharma. And then there was only one person who is totally for the Buddha Dharma. Then that person actually was able to sit on that chair. So actually, this is the chair of the Buddha Dharma. So in the past, they never talk about how the non-Buddhists who actually at that time, during the time of the Buddha, the non-Buddhists tried to push him around and to hurt him and then to debate with him. But even when they tried to hit the Buddha or abuse the Buddha, they were not able to do it. They were not able to harm the Buddha with their transmundane power. So in the history books, we haven't seen any of that. But in any way, as far as the lineage holder is concerned, you have to have both wisdom and inner strength, inner vigor. You have to have great inner vigor in order to be a lineage holder.
Có nghĩa là trong giai đoạn đó ngay cả mấy đạo giáo khác cũng không ai tu chứng gì nhiều hết. Thì bây giờ là ta bắt đầu á.
So actually, if the lineage holders are not able to manifest their wisdom or their great inner strength, then that means that the non-Buddhist lineage holders are not able to attain as well. But now, it seems like those from the non-Buddhist traditions, they also exert great efforts to gain realization, and then they will gain power. Now I understand that there are other non-Buddhist traditions who actually can manifest themselves and then they can fly around. But actually, to be able to fly it has nothing to do with the power, the wisdom power of Buddha Dharma. That is not Buddha Dharma. Actually, according to my view, I think that in the near future, the teaching of the Buddha will be in the optimal golden age, because I've seen so many of his students who have entered our world as great arhats, great enlightening beings who have come into our world, and they are great beings. They have been hiding, but now they soon will manifest. They will soon appear in front of our eyes. So if we have enough right view, then we will not be erroneous, because in the near future, we would not make mistakes in identifying which is the true Buddha Dharma and which is not, because there are so many enlightening beings who have come into our world, but then there are other non-Buddhists who have come here, and then they have powers, and then they will try to build up their prestige and faith in other people, and maybe we will mistakenly think so. But the students of the Buddha will also appear and will also have the power to explain to the students or to the monks and to the monks and the nuns that what is truly the Buddha Dharma. So actually now you can see, right? The lay people give teaching, the monks and the nuns give teachings. And actually, it doesn't mean that the lay people or the monks and the nuns are giving incorrect or correct teachings. Well, actually, in the near future, the lay people will give great teaching as well. And it doesn't mean that the monks and the nuns give great teachings, because it doesn't mean that the lay people can give wrong teachings. Actually, this is something that we will encounter in the near future. And actually, there are many people who are non-Buddhists, but they research the teaching, and then they give great teachings on the Buddha Dharma, but they do not exert any practices according to the teachings of the Buddha Dharma. So actually, I can say that in the near future, it will be optimal golden. It will be the optimal golden age, but it is also confusion. And then the world will have to go through a lot of conflicts and a lot of struggles, and then at the end, the Buddha Dharma will survive, and it will be the golden Buddha Dharma again. So this is something that you can say that I have actually imagined or perceived, and it's been many years, and now I have the opportunity to say this in front of all of you. So, and then there will only be the only way of the Buddha Dharma, the only path toward liberation. So actually, there are many practitioners who have employed their powers to help some people here, some people there. Yes, they actually have used their power to do that. It doesn't mean that when they are in hiding, then they're not doing anything. But those practitioners or the holy beings who are in hiding, actually they are very careful in all of their actions. They will look at the karmas of the people, the karmas of the societies, and they are actually very cautious in their activities of rescuing the people or saving the people. So actually, it's just like in the Avatamsaka Sutra has explained. So it is according to the merits of the sentient beings that the Bodhisattvas and the Buddhas will bring whatever they need and give it to them. So the sentient beings do not have any choice. Actually, the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas really love us, but because our merits are so limited, right? So let's say if our pocket can only hold 3 grains of sand, then that's all we get. And then if another person has like a whole handful of sand, then it means that that person has greater merits than us. So the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas don't make selection based on their love for us. They all love us very much, but they can only give us according to our merits and give us in accordance with the karmas of the societies. So in the future, we will be able to meet many great people like this. So we need to have some wisdom knowledge so that we will be able to discern what is evil and what is genuine, what is evil and what is essential or what is true Buddha Dharma. So actually, you can go on YouTube and you can look for many teachings. And if you listen to them, and you are not a true Zen practitioner, then actually, but the technicality is not. It's not in according with the genuine Buddha Dharma. Because actually they're talking about Zen, they're talking about meditation, and they can also bring transformation to people. But that's not the way that the true Buddha Dharma is. Because if those people, those teachers actually follow the truthfulness of the Buddha Dharma, then they'll be able to help many people. But for all those lay people in the future, if they actually pay all the attention to practicing, then the ordained people will not be able to compete with them. So actually, I have a little bit of a worry. I worry about the ordained sanghas, about the monks and the nuns. Because all the monks and the nuns don't have a chance to study the Buddha Dharma skillfully. You don't go deep into the actual methods. But the lay people, they lose faith in the ordained sanghas. They lose faith in the temples, and they don't want to study from the ordained sanghas, from the temples, and they themselves do research on their own and to study and to practice on their own, because this is a scientific world, a new age world. So they'll be able to they'll be able to progress well. I've met so many lay people who have great understanding about the Buddha Dharma, and there's so many lay people who have entered the forest, who have closed their doors for a year or so without seeing anyone. And then in the cities, they themselves also enter retreat. So I've met so many lay people throughout the world, and many of them continue to practice well in seclusion. And so, for the monks and the nuns who went to enter retreat for 3 months, that's nothing compared to all the lay people. there are also monks and nuns who also have entered retreat for 6 months or 3 years, but the problem is that they don't have the technicality, they don't have the skillful methods, the deep methods in order to attain realization. So actually, I feel that in the temples right now, there are not too many people like that. There are rarely anyone like that. Actually, it is very rare. So that's why the lay practitioners, they truly practice so well. And then sometimes they can actually be very arrogant, or they're very proud because they have attained some realization. And then they cannot respect the monks and the nuns. And due to their not being respectful to the monks and the nuns, that's why they cannot progress. Yeah, it is because in the ordained sanghas, they haven't yet met the dragons of the monks and the dragons of the nuns. So actually the lay people, they do practice. The lay people do practice very well, and I've met so many of them. They also have transmundane powers, and then there's some lay people who are as old as 70 or 80 years old, and they have practiced for such a long time, and they are in seclusion, and their understanding of the Buddha Dharma is so wondrous, and they come from a different tradition, and they don't want me to tell about that. So actually, ever since they have researched about the Buddha Dharma, then they begin to study the Buddha Dharma and practicing according to the Buddha Dharma, and they have when they are in their house, they are so radiant, their luminosity is so great. And then I enter the house and immediately I bow to her, and I want to pay respect to her, and she is so luminous, and she has practiced for 20 years. So I haven't met any ordained person who has entered in seclusion for 20 years like her. Actually, I met one monk who had entered retreat in seclusion in the desert, not in the desert, in the desert, So actually, but he cannot be compared to this lay person whom I've just met, who had practiced for over 20 years. And they have great understanding of the Buddha Dharma. But for those enlightening beings, they feel like they don't have the conditions to enlighten other beings, and then they remain in seclusion. So if you have the great opportunity to meet these people, then actually you have great merits. So actually, regarding attainment or realization, there are just so many of them. Bodhisattvas are everywhere in this world. Anywhere in this world, you can see great bodhisattvas, because when they sit in seclusion, then they sit by themselves, and they use their transmundane power, their wisdom power, to help people, to help people, or to help people during the natural disasters, and to help people going through challenges or difficulties in the world. So we're talking about for example, when we talk about the natural disasters, when we're saying, oh, a tornado is coming to Vietnam, but then somehow it turned away and it went to the Philippines instead, then actually there are people who use their transmundane powers, their wisdom powers, the bodhisattvas would turn their mind toward it, so that they can somehow, make the situation change. So actually, I feel like those monks and nuns who are in seclusion, who practice well, are not as many as the lay people who are in seclusion to practice on their own, but they do not appear. They have great wisdom. They have great inner insights. They have great wisdom, and they have great wisdom insights, and then supernatural powers. actually they are just like so deep in their meditation, so deep in their realization. There are other people in the outer world, but you cannot compare them to people who practice in the mountains of Tibet. In the mountains of Tibet, they remain in there for 10 or 20 years. And they have attained realization. There are just so many of them who have attained realization in the caves. And you know, if those people, they remain in the caves, like very deep in the caves. If we enter those caves, maybe we'll feel suffocated, right already, and we're not able to go deep into the caves. But those meditators, they remain into those caves. And well, actually, there is one person in Vietnam who had great supernatural power and who was able to radiate their luminosity, and that person was 21 years old. He was able to show his luminosity and radiate his luminosity. So he went to Tibet, and then he went deep into the cave. But the other people could not enter the cave, and then they thought that he already died, already passed away. But actually, he went deep into the cave. He talked to the meditator in that cave. And so I just had a brief talk with him. And then the meditator told me, you should leave the cave right away. You know, there's not enough time. And then the meditator told me to close my eyes. That's what the young man told me. And then the meditator said, after I hit your head, then you can open your eyes. And then so actually, after he heard someone hit his head, he opened his eyes. Then immediately he saw that he was already you know, at the ticket counter, ready to go back to Vietnam. So actually, you know, being realized in the Buddha Dharma in our countries or in other countries, there's so many people who have attained realization. So regarding, you know, their activities to help sentient beings, to enlighten sentient beings, they're everywhere in the world, but they just do things differently, in different ways throughout the world. So sometimes when we meet them, we cannot tell that what they are doing. They would not stop their activities, but it depends on our merits, whether we have great merits or you know, small merits, and then we can gain approaches to them, and we can encounter them. So actually, we should have great faith that this is the optimal golden age of the Buddha Dharma. This is the optimal age. Over 2,000 years is really nothing. So we don't need to talk about degenerate time or degenerated time, because the power of meditative absorption of the Buddha and the Arhats are still here. They still remain. So if you go to places where there is meditative absorption, just like on our piece of land here. Yeah, so actually, if we talk about this piece of land, and then everybody will come here, and then they will be able to, you know, receive the energy of blessings from our land. And I've talked about this many times in the past. So I've come here, you know, meeting with so many obstacles and challenges, and I almost passed away many times here. And then many people ask me, why are you here? Why do you remain here? And then I kept telling them that, yes, just stay here for a while. But nobody believed me at that time. But even when I tell that to everyone now, maybe not too many people believe in what I perceive, because actually I perceived that long ago, there was somebody who attained arhatship right behind this great statue right here. And then his power of meditative absorption is still here on our land. The first time when I came here to look at this piece of land, at that time, the Buddhists only gave me this the small piece of land in the front, and in the back, it had a great forest. Well, actually, when I came here, the temple was just so poor and there was nothing to look at. But I went all the way to the back of the hill, and the forest was very deep. And then in the front, there was a temple that was made of leaves, palm leaves. Actually, everything looked really horrible when I first came to this land. It was so remote, and it was like so remote, but actually I could see the light, the luminosity from the back of the hill, and I could see that. And then I decided, yes, I want to accept this temple. But at that moment, that hill doesn't belong to the temple; it belongs to the villagers. So then I made the aspiration. That within 3 years, if I could buy the piece of the land that belonged to the villagers in the back of the hill, then I would remain here. So, 3 years, throughout the 3 years, actually, somebody else helped me bought the piece of land in the back of the hill, and he is still the owner. Legally, he is still the owner of the piece of the land that's behind the hill. So at that time, I had to pay gold, and then actually the lady who bought the land after 3 years, then she first bought it, and then later on she sold it back to me. So then, well, at that time, there was no way that I could leave this piece of property of this of land, because I already made the aspiration that after 3 years, if I could buy that piece of land, that I would remain here. So actually, I was able to purchase a piece of property where light radiate, where luminosity radiate. So actually, I could actually perceive what happened to that piece of land through my own meditative practices. So I also had the opportunity to go to different sacred places, holy places, where there were beings who have attained arhatship. And so in all those sacred places, the power of meditative absorption has never been lost. It is something that is very different. And when you come there, you have to have a very quiet and serene mind in order for you to receive this energy of meditative absorption. There are many temples in the north of Vietnam. There are many, ordained members who attained arhatship. So they did not leave their Vaja body, but actually their meditative absorption, the power of their meditative absorption, is still there. And actually in Vietnam, we also have, bodily relics that were left by the arhats, just like arhats by the Dao temple or the other temples. So this is the power of meditative absorption. So whether it is deep or whether it is shallow, then you'll be able to remain or you'll be able to maintain the bodily relics as long as it is in and that correspondence with the power of meditative absorption. So after many years, then maybe the bodily relics will deteriorate. So the first time I went to China to see the bodily relics of the sixth patriarch, he was sitting in full position, in full posture. And I thought, oh, everything remained full as it is. But actually, there was a time, or there were times during the Cultural Revolution when you know, the bodily relics were being damaged. So actually, when you look at the skin and the hair of the sixth patriarch, and you go deep into meditation, then you can feel how much meditative absorption he has left with us. So actually, the sixth patriarch was a very highly realized person, but he did not like to sit in meditation on the day that he was supposed to pass. After he had his lunch, and then he put on his robes, and then he started to sit in full posture, but he was not able to leave his body right at that moment. He stayed until the evening. So he stayed in that posture for 4 or 5 hours. And then he was able to leave his body. But for the whole life, he did not like to sit in meditation. So that he left his bodily relics, but he was not able to maintain it for a long time. So in this lifetime, so you know, if we have the great merits, then we should try to go to you know, to pay respect to all those places where there's still bodily relics, especially those who have attained arahaships. So actually, if you can do that, then it's great merits in your lifetime to be able to do that. So we truly love and respect those who have attained arahantship, so that we can have the great merits to come and pay respect to their bodily relics. We should develop great reverence, and then we will have the merits. Sometimes we come to a temple, but we don't even know that such a temple has the bodily relics of an enlightened being. So all the activities of the bodhisattvas, after they make offerings to the Buddhas, then they build the stupas to make offerings to the relics. And so there's one other thing that we want to repeat. We don't want to say that, oh, don't believe in other philosophies or other theories, but actually we should put our full faith in the Buddha Dharma, in the teachings of the Buddha Dharma. As long as the golden relics of the Buddha have not yet disappeared in this world, then the teachings of the Buddha still continue to spread far and wide. In Vietnam, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, etc., we have many stupas who house and who revere the relics of the Buddha Dharma, of the Buddhas. What is it telling us? As long as the relics are still here, then that means that the true teachings are still very powerful. So we need to have this kind of faith. So we misunderstand the Buddha Dharma because there's some people who want to be the lineage holder, and then they begin to you know, to talk badly about the Buddha's Dharma teachings, and then they try to bring it down. But we should have great faith, and we should have right view after we study the teachings of you know, the primordial teachings of the Buddha, and we study the teachings of the formative period of the Buddha's teachings, and then the Mahayana teachings, and we base our understanding on that, and we base our practice on that, then we will be able to attain enlightenment. We don't need to waste time going around, because I feel like there are so many Buddhists who go around and around and around, and after they cannot find what they need in Buddhism, then they go to other religions to try to look for things to satisfy them. So actually, if in our lifetimes we don't have the great merit to study from the realized masters, then I have a suggestion for you. You should go ahead and study all the sutras from the formative period of the Buddha Dharma. You study the Theravadin texts and the Theravadin scriptures and study very carefully, then you will be able to find a path for your own. Because the Theravadin teachings, like the scriptures that the Buddha had taught us, that we are studying now, actually the methods are very exact, very accurate, very easy, and actually it's actually very easy for us to practice according to the teachings of what the Buddha taught us, especially wherever the Buddha had taught in the Theravadin scriptures. So then once you go deep into practicing, then you're not afraid. You're not afraid of losing the path or going on the wrong path or deviating from the path. So whatever we study, for example, we study the sutra on fearfulness. It is so wonderful, and it gives you a correct path, an exact path. So actually, when we look at how spirituality is spreading around the world, then we can see that it is getting stronger and more vast, and especially in the scientific age. So actually, wherever, in the near future, wherever you want, and whatever you want to search, you just go on Google and you search everything, and then everything will show up on Google. All the teachings, all the golden teachings, Zen teachings, and everything will become just like a storm. Everything is there. And then, wherever you go, you can study the Buddha Dharma. Even you stay home, you can study the Buddha Dharma. So everything will be so easy for you to learn the Buddha Dharma. Well, but actually, anything that is so easy, then you also have to be cautious. So you have to have the right view, you have to have the right merits, and it depends on your merits as well. Otherwise you end up with so much knowledge. But then if you have too much knowledge, then when it is time for you to enter the path of practice, then it would be very difficult. You need somebody who has realized or who is very skillful in practice, who can teach you. Otherwise, if you read a lot of materials, but you don't know which sutras or which scripture is it is a skillful scriptures that you can base your practice on, then it would be very difficult, and you may end up being deviated from the correct path. So actually, to build the right view is not difficult. If you meet people, you meet the spiritual teachers and learn from them, then you'll be able to develop the right views, that you have this great faith that wherever you are, you can actually practice very well and understanding the Buddha Dharma very well. So that is how it is. And then the next thing here, it says, they know that sentient beings are illusory and do not discriminate among them, yet can differentiate the faculties of beings and act for the benefit of all the living. So actually here, when we've talked about this in the past, here it says sentient beings are illusory. Actually, you have to have great wisdom, because if we see ourselves as substantial, and there's no way you can see sentient beings as illusory. But the enlightened beings, they have already realized this, so they see themselves as illusory, so there's no way that they can see the sentient beings as substantial. But now if we tell people that, oh, we are substantial, then how can people believe us? Because if we tell people, we tell the sentient beings that sentient beings are non-substantial, then how can they believe us? Because they say, oh, I have eyes, I have ears here. How can you say that we are non-substantial? But actually, because we understand that all sentient beings and all appearances are illusory, but not too many people can see this and can believe in this, but the Bodhisattvas can see this very clearly. And because of this view, they are no longer discriminating. But for us ourselves, because we fall into the realm of reality versus the realm of illusion, so that's why we're still discriminating. And then this next thing it says, enlightening beings cultivate and build up virtues, vast, extensive, incomparably supreme, understanding they're essentially not existent. In this way, they dedicate them all with certainty. So actually for the Bodhisattvas to attain the holy level of spirituality, it says here that they reach a state of vast, extensive, incomparably supreme. Actually, this is not. It is not that. It is not something that the sentient beings can compare and contrast, because they're in a state of penetration. So, because there's in a state of supreme penetration, so everything is impartial. Right now we think that there's something that's real, something that's unreal, something that's substantial, something that's illusory, and then we think that this is the nature and this is the appearance. That's our mundane understanding. But once they reach a state of seeing that is transcendental, then they see that there's no nature and there's no appearance. That is the true reality. And then it says here, observing all things with supreme knowledge, there's not a single thing that's born. Thus do they provisionally cultivate dedication, virtue infinite, inexhaustible. So with their supreme knowledge, they can actually see very clearly all dharmas, all phenomena. Then there's not even one single dharma, one single phenomena that is actually born. That actually arises. So that is in conflict with our mundane world, because they see so clearly that each phenomena is unborn and unceasing. Because in the illusion, if we see the beings as illusion, then we are still being stuck in the so-called illusory appearances, and because we think that there are appearances and their forms, and then the forms arise and then subside according to our perception. But is there anyone who already transcends the appearances? No, because we haven't transcended our perception yet. Because if we haven't transcended perception, then everything that we see actually appears within the sphere of perception, and all the illusory appearances appear, but then they are being influenced by our illusory perception. And then you continue to practice until the moment you can transcend forms. Then you can close your eyes during meditation. You don't need to open your eyes, and then you will see your forms. For somebody who is meditating, then you will see your form just like you're seeing somebody else, right? But when you are in deep meditative absorption, then you will see everything, your body, your eyes, your ears, your nose, your hair. They will be able to see their bodies just as they are. But the perception, the cognition is very different from us right now. So right now we're seeing a person who's sitting. At that moment, we would see that there's also a person sitting there, but it would be totally different, because you would see actually the aura of that person. You would see that person as completely hollow. Right now, we see a person sitting, but we see flesh and blood and bones. But when they are in deep meditation, then they look at themselves, they look at other beings, then they see the whole bodies as being hollow and empty, and then they see the pores as why, as they will see their pores so wide and so big. So this is not about perception. You have to be in meditation, in deep meditation, and you transcend perception. Then you will see that all the sentient beings have no bodies. You will see them as hollow bodies. Right now, we see our bodies as 40 or 50 kilograms, and then someone is heavier than you, someone is more beautiful than you, and it's taller than you. But when somebody is in deep meditative absorption, they will see us as mirages, as illusory. So it's just like our bodies would be made of mist to them. So you can see how the mist, or the clouds appear in the sky. You look at the clouds in the sky, and they are translucent, and then they appear as different forms or shapes of animals, right? But when they are in meditation, meditative absorption, and they look at our bodies, then our bodies become even more translucent than the clouds, more fragile than the clouds. They actually see our bodies as hollow, as empty. So because they have already transcended perception, so they can actually see our bodies as hollow. So the gods, don't care about our beauty based on our physical bodies. They look at our luminosity, they look at our aura in order to define whether we are beautiful or not. So they look at the auras. Well, actually, they don't look at our thoughts. They don't look at our thinking. They don't see our physical bodies. They just see a solid form, or a hollow form, actually. So it's just a form that is simile there, simile not there. It's it's real, it's unreal. So it's just like unrealistic in a way. So when they look at the form is transparent. It goes from one side to another, and then they see our aura very clearly. When they look at us, they can see our aura very clearly, and this aura is actually our true self. So when they look at ourselves, they look at the aura that is surrounding us. So the higher they are realized, the more clearly they can see our auras. So they don't see the depth of our bodies, because everything is just like a cloud. The cloud can disappear swiftly, just like our bodies can disappear very swiftly. So the arahats, when they look at us, it's just like the clouds are being gathered in the sky, and then when it's time to disintegrate, then they disintegrate. So it is actually something very simple. But then they look at our aura. So when they look at our aura, they know what kind of mind we have from the cosmos, how it is connected to our aura, and then they want to know how much longer it's going to last and how it's going to last. So all the negativity and all the positive things in us can be seen through our aura, and the gods and the arhats can actually see all of that. And this aura is unborn and unceasing, but it depends on the kind of universal mind that is affecting us. So actually the universal mind that affects our aura, and then we end up thinking of something based on the universal mind. And actually when they look at our bodies are so fragile and so transparent and so flimsy. Well, when we use the machine to to detect our physical bodies, actually sometimes they can tell that our bodies are there, but they're so much more heavier than the kind of flimsiness that the gods or the enlightened beings see us. So actually when they are in meditative absorption, the auras are even more vivid than the physical bodies. So they only see the aura, how beautiful it is, whether we are thinking good thoughts or bad thoughts. They don't care about our physical bodies, because whatever thinking we have, then the aura will have that color, and that color is actually the true reality of such a person. So then when this physical body dies or passes away, then we would see that the aura will leave the body, and you will see that the whole form of aura will leave the physical body. And some people would say that this is the soul, and when the soul leaves the body, whatever our form is, then the form of the aura will actually exit from our body. It's the same form, and it is not attached to the physical body, the deteriorated body anymore. And then there comes a moment when it becomes brightly luminous, when the form aggregates already become empty, and you no longer have delusion about the form, about the body. Then they will be able to see that the bodies are become more and more empty. So first we see how the particles are actually deteriorating slowly and slowly. But once you practice, when the form aggregates are no longer substantial, then we don't really have this form of a body anymore. Everything will be so flimsy and so vague, and then the aura will become expanding. It will become expensive. And then once we reach a state of having the form aggregates as empty, then the aura will become so vast. And then the moment you actually attain enlightenment, then as far as the aura is concerned, for those who haven't yet attained arhatship, and they actually attain meditative absorption, and they can see their bodies as illusory, they cannot find the bodies anymore. Even when they enter meditative absorption, they have already transcended perception. They cannot find their bodies, and the gods themselves cannot find their bodies, the bodies of the meditative absorption either. So once you transcend the perception, then you would be able to have the perception and sensation, and the body extinct, completely extinct. And those people are not yet attaining arhatship. So after they attain arhatship, then well, actually, for those people who have not yet attained arhatship, if they remain in the temple, they can see the bodies of everyone in the temple as illusory. But to try to look for their masters, they won't be able to do that, because their master's realization is beyond that. So actually, they can actually see each pore and each hair of each person living in this temple, but they are not able to see the body of the master, of their masters, even when the master is speaking to them. So actually, only those who are deep in meditative absorption, they can actually understand this. So actually, when we're talking about practicing goodnesses with good merits, in order to see the bodies as unborn, unceasing, and non-substantial, is due to their wisdom from the meditative absorption power. When we see, when we're talking about life and death, it is because we are still deluded. But for the enlightening beings, they cannot see their bodies. They just see their bodies as clouds in the sky. But for us, we truly see our bodies, right? Physical bodies. We get on the scale, and we have weight, and we have, we have the height, and we have the width, and we have the weight. If the Bodhisattvas tell us that our bodies are, insubstantial, are not existing, then how can we believe that? But for those people who truly enter meditative absorption, that they can see the forms of sentient beings, as a form with holes here and holes there, and then later on they will see the bodies of everyone as empty, as hollow. they will be able to see through and to penetrate everything. Right now we see our bones, we see solidity, we see blood, we see bones. But for those who are in meditative absorption, they do not see any of that. It's just hollowness, it's just emptiness. So they do not see that we are actually born, but they only see our aura. For example, the aura turns bright and then yellow and then turn green and then turn luminosity, etc. So when so there's a period of time when we enter the womb, that at that period of time everything becomes kind of murky. So during that time when we become murky ourselves, the arhats actually can see the aura and how the aura is being wrapped around our physical body at that time. But at that time, we're talking about a consciousness, right? So right after the consciousness enter the womb, then swiftly for a moment, the luminosity, the consciousness, how do you say, become darkened again. And then after we are reborn, we take birth, then the consciousness and the aura begins to expand. So for the newborn babies, the aura around the babies are actually gold in color. They haven't yet disappeared or changed color. And then until 7 or 8 years old, the either white or golden aura will become expensive. It will get bigger and larger. And then once you start to have love and hate and all kinds of sentiments, and then the aura will begin to change. You will be able to see the aura in the children, because the aura in the children, the color of the aura in the children, they don't change. Only for the adults that the aura colors would change. But actually the aura around the children, they're like translucent. They're not so clear. They are translucent, but there's always there surrounding the bodies. So actually the aura is what allows you to have great sensitivity, because for the children, they are in a state of peacefulness, a state of a natural state. Because of the natural state, they are always friendly. They are very friendly, they're radiant. So it is because of their natural state. So when the adults see them, then they want to hug them, they want to kiss them, they want to love them. It is because their natural state is so peaceful and so friendly and so harmonious, and they are so harmonious with the outer world. So all the adults, when they see the children, they want to love them, they want to hug them, they want to be close to them. Because the adults they have to fight and to struggle in the adults world. That is what it is. So when you have great sensitivity and you hug a child, then you inherit the sense, the natural sense or the peaceful sense from the little children. When they are 2 or 4 months old, and when you are feeling so agitated or disturbed, you can hug those children, and then you will be able to inherit their energy. They haven't practiced yet, but because their mind is very peaceful, they have the energy of peacefulness. They have an aura of peacefulness. They have an energy of peacefulness, so you'll be able to benefit from them. Actually, there are many children. I'm sorry, there are many mothers, and they're actually in the process of they are crying actually. They were crying, and then after they hugged their children, and then they stopped crying, and they were afraid, oh, if I'm crying, I hug my children and it will influence my children. But no, actually, because they were able to benefit from the energy of the young children. Because for example, for some mothers, they have so many worries, and they hug their children, and immediately They don't want to influence the babies with their sadness, but no, actually, it is actually in reverse, because the children give you the energy, their pure energy, their peaceful energy, and so you don't influence them, but actually they influence you in return with their energy of peacefulness. So for those mother who have great living energy, it is because every day they hold the children, they take care of their children, they hug their children, and they wish for their children's success in the future. So actually, love is a natural energy that can actually influence the person next to you. Because as adults, we are always disturbed, but for the children, they're always peaceful, they're always happy, especially those children who are healthy, they have great energy. So if I talk about this, and all of you would probably want to hug the children and love the children, but this is the truth. You should try to test it out, and then you'll be able to see it. So what is it that we want to talk about here? We're talking about the energy of purity. The energy of purity is the living force of our human beings. But because we are so disturbed in life, so we truly need this energy of purity. So if it ever happened to you that you feel not peaceful, then you should do something, and what you should do is to hug the little children. After you hug the little children, then you feel a great energy somehow, and then you feel happier. And before that, you were not happy, but once you hug them and they smile at you, then the energy is so great. And so you all should try. You should try to look for a baby and try that. So when the enlightened beings look at us, they see that we're impure. And also, but the truth is that when they look at our physical bodies, they don't pay attention to their physical bodies. And when they are enlightened, they don't care about their physical bodies either. They work so hard from morning until night, and they stay up late. They don't care about their physical bodies, because the more they understand the Buddha Dharma, it seems that their physical bodies are of no significance, especially for the enlightening beings. They can see so deeply what the bodies are truthfully are, and they can see how much longer they can have this body in order to benefit sentient beings. So they ultimately want to use their physical bodies to benefit other sentient beings. So when they enter this world, and they are able to attain realization, then they'll be able to know that how much longer they will remain in this world. So it's not that they have to leave this world due to other reasons, but because they see that they need to leave this world so that they can go to another sphere, another realm, to benefit other sentient beings. So they can use their bodies according to their aspirations. Just like when they buy a bicycle or motorcycle, they know how much longer those bikes or those motorcycles will last. So because they don't see their bodies anymore, they realize that this is just an illusory body that they are borrowing in order for them to use in this realm. So it is very clear to them. To us, maybe we don't believe in it, and we cannot see it. But once we are able to enter meditative absorption, and we don't need to rely on our physical eyes in order to see, everything, all the outer appearances, then you'll be able to see, even at just one time, how all the physical bodies, instead of being solid, they are actually empty, they're actually hollow. All the colors, all the appearances, actually hollow. When we no longer use our physical eyes, it means that we no longer abide rely in perception. We no longer see with perception. So then the physical appearances do not appear as they, as the way we see them anymore, because we are still in the level of perception. We can hear noises with our ears, and we can see forms with our eyes. But at that time, we don't see the forms the way they are. So actually, for those people who told you that they have attained meditative absorption, you can ask them, how do you see everything now? What do you see now? So this is not a trap, but this is just a way to tell whether you have actually attained, arship or sainthood yet. You have to tell me how it is that you transcend perception. So if you tell me answers that are still based on perception, then it is still objects, it is still form, against your sense faculties, right? So that means that you're not transcendental yet. So all of you who have entered retreats and you still base your seeing on your physical eyes, then that means that you haven't gotten there yet. But if you close your eyes and you are able to see everything without seeing, without opening your eyes, then is somebody who has attained, who has their eyes open. So but if they can tell you what the forms truly are, what the appearances truly are beyond perception, then you will be able to tell exactly how they are. So when you are in deep meditation, you'll be able to see the elusive aspect of all the forms, of all the appearances. When you are deep in meditation and you no longer see forms with your physical eyes, then how do you see it? You have to see both sides. You have to see existence and non-existence. It means you have to see it fully. Just like when you look at this tree, you can ask somebody. For example, you ask this you look at this world, this word actually, and you say and you cover this word, and the enlightened being, they do not have to open their eyes, but they can see everything. So for our physical eyes, we cannot see something that is being hidden. All right, we cannot see things that are being hidden, but for those who are in great meditative absorption, they'll be able to see everything, even when that is being hidden, without having to open their eyes. Because if you cannot see things that are being hidden with your wisdom eyes, then that means that you are not there yet. So if you say that you are enlightened, then how do you see it? How do you see something compared to somebody who has not have their wisdom eye open yet? So just due to this question that I've been you know
Phật